One.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get into this brand new episode of something I'm going to be working on, I do have an announcement to make. This is actually a pretty big announcement. I've been working on a pilot script for a Hawkman and Hawkgirl show called Love Hawks, and it's currently almost done with its second draft. It is an announcement I'm making now. I don't know when I'm going to be able to update you guys on it any further, but that's something I've been working on behind the scenes, and I just wanted to drop it here. If you guys like the idea, let me know down in the comments. Anyways, back to the actual episode of Horyu Behind the Scenes. Hello, I am Joliver VA. Of course, you guys know me as the head of the project, the voice actor of Scarecrow, and many other things. You two want to go ahead and introduce yourselves?
I thought you were going to introduce us for us. Hello,
Okay,
I'm.
here I
Uh,
will. Here's Alexa Power, who is one of the writers for
hello.
this, and someone who is going to be who helps out behind the scenes with coming up with the idea of the Horyu verse that someone coined the name of, and I fucking love it. And of course, we have Marcus here.
Or Sean MD for short.
Yes, Son MD, who voices Marcus. Big DC guy. All three of us are big DC guys.
Very much so. Ever since middle school, ever since I watched Batman the Animated Series for the first time.
I was in elementary
Yes.
school.
To be honest, I saw I started off with watching Batman season 4, and then worked my way up to watching Batman Beyond, and then the Superman series, and then going into Justice League before going into um like back season 1 of the animated series, or going into their spin-off movies and all the other stuff. But that's where I primarily started with it.
Oh, really? So
Yep.
you started at like season 4 with like the weird Joker design and
To be honest, I grew up with that design, and
I kind of
I
did too.
know this is going to be a weird. I know that's kind of a weird thing, but I was more weirded out with the actual season 1 through 3, and even the Return of the Joker's design, because I was so used to that specific design, season four's design. So I was. I know that a lot of people did not like that design for season 4 because they took away all of the color, and that's kind of missing the point of the Joker. But for me, it was like a tour de force when I did see the color, because I didn't watch the previous seasons before that. So when I did end up seeing them, I was like, "Oh, looks like he got an upgrade." But then I'm realizing that, oh, this was actually in the later season. Why did they do that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's not a bad design. It really isn't. It's just kind of a downgrade from what we originally got. And then I thought they did a pretty good job of marrying the two in Justice League and Return of the Joker. Which
Anyways,
which we should just have an episode where we talk about like Mask of the Phantasm or Return of the Joker.
Yes.
yes, that's for a one of the podcast episodes where we just talk about random stuff. This time, though, we're going to be very specific about what's going on in the whole Ryu verse, what it's about, and any questions that some people may have asked. If you have questions, leave it down in the comments. We'll read it, and next time we do something like this, we will answer those. So, anyways, before one of the things I do want to emphasize is that the interviewers themselves are not just people just asking questions. They are their own character, and I that's why I brought Sean here, who voices one of the interviewers. And I've told him about a lot about the interviewers. So in order to keep it from just me being the one talking, I'll leave the more experienced VA to do the explanation of the other interviewers. Sean?
Yes. Well, in terms of like Marcus's character, or because the three main interviewers that go out through the entirety of the series is Marcus, Sophia, and also
And
Percy,
Zelda.
which was and Zelda, and see Percy. We already know that Marcus's character is basically a mercenary, and Percy was one of his partners, and both of them, if I remember correctly, were also in the Suicide Squad, but not like in the Suicide Squad, but they were kind of like partnering up with like Amanda Waller,
They were
trying to keep the other inmates in check.
They were part of the original Suicide Squad before they started doing the taking the supervillains. They took military personnel who were part of Delta Force. Who, if those who don't know, Delta Force is the highest, like the Special Ops, and then there's Delta Force. But it's always the best of the best. Yes. Only best of the best shows up. They're not mercenaries. They are both military personnel. Ex-military, anyways.
Oh, I got you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yep. But yeah, Percy's a character that, as much as like I want to talk about him, the whole point, and especially if you like read his name, is like Percy redacted. Yeah, that's not an accident, and we will find out more about Percy as a character later on.
Mm-hmm.
However, Marcus, Zelda, Sophia, and Derek, these characters are, open. So you want to go ahead and let's actually talk about Sophia for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Let's see here. Well, first, Sophia was kind of bullied at school quite often, and until her stepdad came in, then she ended up getting help with that. But at around, I think she said it was like 13 or 14. Her dad died, if I'm remembering that correctly.
Yep.
And then she had to grow up in an orphanage. But then she eventually found like her calling in terms of helping people. So that way, so when she decided to become a therapist, she decided to use that gift to actually help like ex-cons or ex-inmates, and then try to, reform them. What I see from this is that her character is basically what Harleen Quinzel would be if she did not become Harley Quinn. Like if she just stayed on the path and not just for writing articles about the supervillains, because when Harleen was introduced in Batman the Animated Series, it showed that she was primarily there because she wanted to tell like an tell-all book about the criminal mind, because she had a fascination with super criminals, like an added charm to them, which is why she fell in with the Joker. But with Sophia, hers is a bit more straightforward. It's a bit more self. So whenever she is interviewing them, you can definitely tell that she wants to help them. She's not looking to gain anything. She's not, wanting like Harleen or Harley wanted to do a tell-all book. No, she legitimately wants to help them. Even though a lot of them do not, she is still satisfied with the ones that are helped. And she does eventually end up reforming a few.
Hopefully. We'll see what happens in the future, because she just started in Arkham. One thing I do want to mention is that she is from the Philippines. She is actually a Filipino immigrant. Her father moved to the Philippines because moved from the Philippines to the U.S. a while back, and part of the reason for that is if you listen to it, the actress has a bit of an accent because she herself is from the Philippines. So I added that in there to help her feel a little bit more comfortable in the role.
I got you.
Yeah, because one thing I mentioned this before during a podcast, a lot of the interviewers end up becoming very much based off their actors in one way or another. Like Zelda, for example, is like the perfect example. Silver Dreamy Rose was just Silver. She's the one who voices Zelda. And you know Silver, don't you, Sean?
Yes, actually. Her and me have been in a few projects together. A couple of webtoon dubs, some other like dub related projects that I can't talk about for the sake of copyright esque and things that I'm not allowed to disclose at the moment.
Well, do you have a non-disclosure?
Confidentiality, if you will.
So do you have like a NDA that you signed?
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and anyone who meets Silver, because I really want to drag her onto one of these podcasts one of these days, because honestly, she's a blast to talk to. She has so much energy, it's just so much natural quirkiness that it made the dialogue I wrote for in the Heatwave episode actually pretty decent because she was able to add a lot of personality to it.
Yeah, I've never met her. She seems pretty cool. Is she like a big like DC fan like
Nope.
me and Sean? Oh, really?
I don't know how big of a fan she is of DC, but I met her through a mutual acquaintance, and I talked to her for a little bit, and I offered her the role of Zelda because I really needed a female actress, like really badly, for season 1. So I approached her, and the rest is history. In terms of Zelda's backstory, how much do you remember me telling you, Sean?
Okay, let me see if I can recall the backstory of Marcus.
We're talking about Zelda.
It's funny as I remember more about Marcus than any of the other people.
Okay,
Yeah.
Literally the only thing that I know about Zelda is that she's a reporter. More specifically, a supernatural reporter. So, and if I remember correctly, you said that if there were to be like a supernatural type apocalypse with, say, either John Constantine's villains or Doctor Fate and whatever, because the DC universe has a lot of supernatural villains.
Yeah, a lot of supernatural.
The
like
best
a supernatural
stuff.
side to it. That if something were to happen, she would end up surviving.
Yeah. So Zelda worked for the Daily Planet with Lois Lane and has a bit of a crush on Clark Kent. Not Superman, by the way. Not Superman, Clark Kent. She likes a farm boy.
Who doesn't?
Which is weird because usually, see, Superman has like the opposite in terms of like they even address this in the animated series that Lois goes for Superman but not Clark Kent. But in this case, for Zelda, it's Clark Kent and not Superman.
Yeah, that's what the idea was, to kind of parallax this. I'll talk a little bit about Superman and Lois a little bit.
Parallax. I think that's a different DC villain.
Superman and Lois. I'll talk about their relationship. But Zelda is someone who became interested in criminal stories, and right now she has a vendetta against one specific villain. I'm not going to spoil who that is, but she's working towards dethroning him in a way.
I see.
Yep. And honestly, I would not be surprised if she picks up some dirt on Marcus at some point.
Yeah. That...
Would not surprise me. And then, of course, Sean can talk about Marcus the most as I've drilled some stuff into his head.
I also know quite a bit about Marcus as well. I think he's probably my favorite one out of everyone. I think I made Sean shut down with excitement. He's like, yes!
Yeah, honestly, all the interviewers are really fun. Even though I do technically have a favorite, I just rather not say it.
Fair, because they're your children. It's like saying like which child is your favorite. You can't say that, otherwise you'd be like, you just can't say it.
Yeah, you gotta give them all equal amount of love.
Mm-hmm.
I think Sean turned into a robot.
Sean, you good, buddy?
Or am I?
I was about to be like, you good, buddy?
Let me ask you.
Oh, I'm good.
Let me ask you two. Which one of you guys wants to talk about Marcus?
I think Marcus himself should lead off, and if there's any details that he may have missed, I'll pick up on it, and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Okay, but full disclosure, I may end up getting a lot of this wrong, so feel free to chime in if I'm like off by one detail.
Yeah,
or
sure.
several.
Yeah, sure.
Yep, I always corrected a little bit of it earlier.
Okay, so as I was stating before, Marcus is like he's not technically a mercenary, but he has like a very he has like a military-esque background to him that both him and Percy were together fighting in war and stuff like that, but was eventually brought in to the original Suicide Squad, the Delta section, if I remember correctly.
They were part of the Delta Force before being put into Task Force X.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The Delta Force, I am hoping I'm correct in this. If I'm not, then they were special ops. They were part of the highest rank, like the best of the best in the military. And these two, among a few others, were part of the Task Force X.
Yeah. And but the one thing about Marcus is that he's a lot more. There's a lot of comparisons that you could be able to make because, like saying when you think of like say Task Force X or the Suicide Squad in terms of leading it, like a military man leading it, you usually think of Rick Flag in that regard because he's usually the righteous soldier, the yes man to Amanda Waller in terms of what needs to be done. But Marcus, both Marcus and Percy, but more so Marcus is more ruthless and a bit more, for lack of a better word, aggressive in terms of their methods of getting stuff done. Because Rick Flag, even though he does things for Amanda Waller that are morally reprehensible, but still does it for the sake of the country, Marcus, on some degree, does care, but he pretty much goes to places that Rick Flag does not, or would not do. Okay. Like, there is a line that he wouldn't be willing to cross. But Percy is kind of, or Percy.
I was choked on my water after saying
yeah, like he kind of grounds Marcus in some regards because he's they're the equivalent of good cop, bad cop.
Mm-hmm.
No, like, it's the equivalent of good cop, or literally someone who's nicknamed after hell. So it's either good cop or torture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the extreme opposite.
Yeah. Oh. Let's first stop to talk about Percy specifically and just focus on Marcus, because again, a lot of Percy's backstory stuff is going to get explored, and it is meant to be mostly a mystery.
Am I allowed to say what episode we learn a little more about his past? Oh, okay.
You be quiet.
Okay. Hey, I didn't say anything. I'm just saying, when is it getting revealed?
Oh, it's going to get revealed. Actually, by the time this episode has aired, it's either going to be 2 weeks after this episode gets put on YouTube, or will be 2 years. Not 2 years, 2 weeks behind.
I was about to be like, 2 years? Jesus, man.
So it's either 2 weeks ahead or 2 weeks back. Is one of the things where it was revealed that Percy was nicknamed Minos, and his third chamber was called Tartarus. But how about we have Marcus tell us about like the thing that really put him on the map?
I think, like, aside from his ruthlessness on the battlefield, it's definitely got to be his strong but calm composure when he's talking to the inmate, because he kind of has like that same Gus Fring-esque energy, where the more calm he is, the more threatening.
Oh yeah, if he's being a smart ass to you, you're fine. But if he's 100% just like done with your shit, you should run. But I was talking about the KGB incident.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like that's so terrifying.
Like, for anyone who knows anything about KG Beast, he's like the Russian equivalent of Arnold Schwarzenegger's Commando, for lack of a better word. But Marcus is like the U.S. equivalent of KG Beast.
Yep.
Yeah. In fact, in the Captain Boomerang episode that was just released recently, Digger reveals, the horror stories that he's heard about Marcus, and even throws a little retort that, he's killed, like, children and stuff like that.
So that I do want to explain that, but before that, so the reason why I mentioned it as a KGB incident is that in our universe, the KGB is no more. They were destroyed by Marcus, utterly slaughtered by one man. So, the other thing about the whole, Marcus killing kids, unfortunately, in times of war, they're all people who use child soldiers, and they're all people who strap bombs to kids and bring them over to bases to basically be suicide bombers. It's a really, really sad thing that happens, and unfortunately, Marcus, being the soldier he was, had to do what he had to do at that time.
Yeah.
And it's still...
Yeah, like I said, different places where Rick Flag would draw the line Marcus has already crossed that.
Yep. But Marcus isn't all bad or ruthless. I'm pretty sure I told you this, son, but one thing he did is Amanda Water approached both Marcus and Percy about becoming a general, and working directly under her. Um, even more so. Percy turned it down, but Marcus accepted it on one condition: any and all children, super soldiers, Amanda Waller was creating and raising. He checks up on them at least like once a month randomly to make sure they're being treated well. And Marcus is the main reason why they don't, you know, push the kids too far. Because if they do, they have to deal with Marcus. And do you really want to fuck with the guy who destroyed an entire military operation from Russia?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
But yeah, so and then you have Derek, who his backstory isn't really fully there, but he's been at Arkham for like 10 years, and he was he was under um he was under Jeremiah Arkham, he was under Hugo Strange, and the current head of Arkham Asylum. He's like next in line to become head of Arkham if he survives. But he actually cares about, like Sophia. He cares about the image, but unlike Sophia, who takes it in a, "Hey, I'm here for you. Let's talk this out." It's very much just like, "Dude, you're really fucked up. So let's figure out why you're fucked up and if there's a way to fix it." And he's very much like a strict father, which has helped, Condiment King, Catman, and Killer Moth not only reform but get jobs. Like Catman is in the MMA right now. Condiment King has his own restaurant, and Killer Moth is, working at a light bulb company.
Did you really have him like work at a light bulb company?
Yes.
For fuck's sakes, man. Really?
What do you think about that, Sean?
He's a sick man, isn't he?
Well, Killer Moth actually likes working at the light bulb company. He feels safer when he's surrounded by lights.
And I'm just assuming that he's working under Dr. Light.
That'd be hilarious, but no.
No, is Dr. Light a rapist in our
much.
world, or did that not happen?
That didn't happen. I'm sorry. Like, I get the point of it, but Identity Crisis has a bunch of issues that I'm just really would rather just not touch.
Yeah, Identity Crisis felt more like a slaughter fest.
Yeah, we're skipping that. Also, Heroes in Crisis never happened.
Yeah, well, that's too new.
Yeah, well, I'm just mentioning that right now. So let's actually get into a few of the hero stuff, and the question for you two.
Mm-hmm.
What questions do you guys have about this universe?
I think we've talked. Me and Richie have talked long about the future of Batman on where it's all going to go, but I don't think you and I had ever talked about what will become of Superman in the future. Because I feel like it's always about Batman when I feel like Superman is just as important, if not slightly more important when it comes to the DC universe. So, what are your like plans with Superman and maybe his rogues gallery?
So the number one thing is that for Superman, Clark can't be Superman forever. I'm sorry to say this, but in our world, he's been active for almost 20 years. He's in his 40s now. Eventually, he's going to wear himself out. When that happens, his son, John Kent, will take over. Because again, I like John Kent as Superman. He's a very sassy Superman. I'm probably rewrite his entire relationship that he has with the current person he's dating.
Yeah.
That entire thing is just going to get taken away and replace, same characters, but it's just completely rewritten. Because I'm not against John Kent being gay or bi. I'm not against it. It's just the problem with the comic is
The
that's
way it's
all
handled.
it is about.
The way it's handled, you're not a big fan of. Which is a valid point because it's not. Because I haven't really checked it out, but from what I've heard, it's not all that great in execution. Which is kind of sad because I love Tom Taylor, the guy that writes it. Tom Taylor wrote all the Injustice stuff. Deceased. I never read his Suicide Squad. I heard it was a bunch of like D-listers on it, and that's why it was like so celebrated because you didn't know who the hell was gonna die. He also did some Spider-Man and stuff like that.
The issue with Tommy's John Kent run is that he's focusing so much on the relationship instead of John being Superman.
Yeah.
And what that means. And if we get there, that's what we're going to focus on more, and his boyfriend will be much more like a Lois Lane type character.
Yeah.
Not exactly the same, but someone who's there, someone that he talks to, someone he gets along with, but someone that, is it going to be always in the stories? He's not always going to, he's not going to be the main focus.
Yeah. Let's give John Kent someone to talk to aside from Damian.
Yeah.
Like, I love him and Damian together, but at the end of the day, John needs someone else to talk to. Not someone that's first instinct is going to be, hey, let's just slice them up and kill them and throw them in the back of the tank. No.
Yeah. Let's give John some more friends.
Yes.
So that's that. In terms of the future of Superman, that's the current idea. Again, this is just the idea I have. But current time, I'm still debating whether or not Lois Lane and Superman are currently married or not. But right now, I'm flirting with the idea that Lois Lane basically just learned that Superman is Clark Kent, and she's processing it before the two of them start dating.
What are your tensions with Lex Luthor?
That goes into very spoil-based territory, so I'm going to keep that one under wraps.
Okay. Never mind.
No, it's fine, you can ask that, but it's just like, yeah. So if we get, I will say this, if we get to episode 100, you'll find out.
Okay, then.
Sean, do you have any questions?
I think I know that the main series is based around the DC's villains, but my thought in terms of maybe like a spin-off series or possibly to explore the universe that we still have in here is that one concept that I found interesting in season 4 of Young Justice is that there was a strong sense to bring about mental health, because we had Black Canary constantly giving counseling to every single member of the team, including Zatara.
Hero therapy.
Hero therapy. So my question would be, since we're doing so many interviewers for either ex-cons or ex-criminals and having therapists reaction to why the criminals are doing what they're doing and how to reform them, would it be something that you could see in the future having, like, say, Black Canary or any of the other, like, therapists or licensed mental health professionals helping superheroes with having to deal with said criminals or their trauma.
So, to answer that question, we already have episode 1 of Hero Therapy. Wildcat is episode 1.
Yeah.
And it is an idea that I am flirting with, as well as the interviewers being interviewers outside, being themselves outside the interviews, as well as like Terrors of the Green Lantern Corps, and doing like some radio plays of some almost like a classic radio play of a superhero story. Hero Therapy became very popular. Wildcat has 900 views on that video. Like, holy shit!
I know, that's amazing. Congrats.
Yeah, yeah. And then unfortunately, Black Manta only had 25 views.
And I was involved in that episode.
And Captain Boomerang only has like 13 or 15 views.
The algorithm works in mysterious ways.
I just think it doesn't like you, Lex.
Oh. Then it's not gonna like my finale episode.
Hopefully. But
could you imagine if that's Sean, the one that blows up?
To answer your question, Sean, yes, Hero Therapy is something that is going to happen. Episode 1 did amazingly well, and I'm currently working on other episodes of Hero Therapy with Martian Manhunter, Black Canary being the main two. I might recast Martian Manhunter since I voice him, and I'm not 100% satisfied with the way I voice him. I might try again. But yeah. Heroes are going to get a little bit more spotlights coming up. So yeah. Let's ask 2 questions. So Sean, do you have another question?
Let's see here. With all the people that are working under Amanda Waller, is there anything that you could see Amanda Waller coming into the series at any time?
I do see.
Or do you have anyone in mind if you were to cast her in this?
Casting, no. Do I have a plan of her? I was thinking of having a video of her and another character separately talking about some of the interviewers to go a bit more in depth of the characters, but writing something like that is extremely difficult. Eventually it's something that is going to get popped out. So that way, instead of us just talking about it, we can have Amanda Waller basically break down like Marcus Williams. This man is known for blah 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 blah. Or Percy Redacted. All of the any information we have on him before he joined the military is currently null and void. Stuff like that. And then we have the current head of Arkham. He's going to be doing his own about the psychiatrists. 3 psychiatrists we have. So that is something I am thinking about doing. It's something I'm working on, but it's extremely difficult for me since that's a lot more technical writing than character writing for me. All right, next.
So with all the villain interviews, I know that we're currently writing season 3. How many seasons do you plan on going with this? Do you plan on going at 5 or as long as the audience wants more?
5 seasons is the current limit right now. It's one of those things where if we don't blow up after 50 episodes, like if the channel doesn't grow as big as I'm hoping it will, after 5 seasons, I might end the project and end the channel there. Mm. If it's not getting it, because I'm having less and less time to work on things. So my life is changing. I might be moving. some point in the future, like next year or the year after. So I might not have the time. But so far, 5 seasons, guaranteed 50 episodes of
Hmm.
the DC villain interview. And then before I ask questions, Sean, one more question from you.
Um, let's see here. Do I have one? Um, actually, I can't think of anything, to be honest.
All right, then let's ask. You ask the final question. Before I
Yes.
start asking.
What was that? I didn't hear.
You ask the last question before we move on to me asking you two some questions.
Uh, I actually there is like one last question I want to ask. Are there any big storylines that we're gonna refer to? Like, are we ever going to talk about a storyline like for the man who has everything, or are we ever going to talk about like the Court of the Owls event? Will we ever talk about like like will we ever talk about the Sinestro Corps War or anything like that?
Um, there's some big events because DC is so big. It's hard to try to fit everything, especially with the time scale of everything. Sinestro Cold War did happen. Whether or not it gets mentioned, I don't know at this current moment. In terms of things getting mentioned, I'm not sure if we will. We might do a adaptation or our version of the story in the future.
Mhm.
But currently, I don't know. It again, none of this depends on how much support we have. Because if I'm able to turn this into a job, like a legit like job, then I will have the time and resources to do bigger and bigger projects, which is what I want to do. Like the Blackest Night event would be, theoretically, if I were the Blackest Night event would be happening within a year of the current time of the DC villain interviews. In 1 year, Blackest Night event might happen after the 50th episode, and then we deal with the Blackest Night. But again, it depends on the support, depends on the resources, on what we can do. Things might get mentioned, but yeah. So let me ask you two some questions.
Sure.
What hero do you guys want to see more of?
What hero? Because we mostly have been doing the DC villains. I can think of like a few DC villains, but actually
Okay,
with
let me
the
rephrase the question. What DC heroes do you guys want to see in like hero therapy or in their own radio play?
uh I think I'd like a couple of the Young Justice characters. Maybe like maybe we could get like Wonder Girl in there. We could probably have like Beast Boy and like does Connor Kent exist in the Ryo universe?
Yes.
Yeah, so maybe some of those characters would be nice.
Beast Boy to me has always been more Teen Titus than Young Justice. Just me being fanboy.
Or in Young Justice's case, the Outsiders.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I get what you mean, like some more of the like teenage characters.
Yeah. Oh, actually, you know what would be cool? I'd like to see Black Lightning used in our universe.
Yeah, a lot of the characters from like Milestone and like Black Lightning, I do want to do something with. I just don't know what yet.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do something with static, I will gladly like volunteer. I love Static Shock. I've loved Static since I was a kid. Ever since I would go to my grandma's house and watch that
Yes.
cartoon. It's so good. I've rewatched the first couple of seasons on HBO Max. I was doing that last year, and it's so good. It talks about gang violence and racism and gun safety. It handles it in a very mature way that just it's so good and so well written. And one thing that I love most about it is that Dwayne McDuffie was involved, the guy that was one of the creators of
Originally,
Milestone. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, Dwayne McDuffie, who co-created Ben 10 and wrote a lot of DC animated stuff. He sadly is no longer with us. I believe he died like 10, 11 years ago. So he died like young at like 50.
Yeah. So Sean, same question to you. What would you like? What type of hero would you like to see in the universe?
I
New
would
tag.
say Cyborg.
Really?
Yeah, because I think that there is a lot that can be explored with them. Because we already, you can't talk about this universe without talking about Batman. So we know all of that dude's baggage. But we can't go 1 year without mentioning Bruce's parents' death or um, the reasons why he constantly keeps bringing up proteges. But um, and we can definitely see the struggles that Superman faces because we've had like an entire Schneider trilogy basically going through all of that. Not that I wouldn't want to see Superman in hero therapy, or even like Connor Kent or John Kent or whoever else is super related, but maybe because I'm such a big fan of Teen Titans, and when Cyborg officially became a member of the Justice League, as opposed to just like say another sidekick or another like workaround villain. Not why am I saying villain? Hero. Um, because pretty much his humanity, half of his humanity was stripped away from him. There's a lot of things that he's constantly having to deal with as of right now. Um, and they don't, despite having him have those struggles, in Teen Titans, they made him one of the funniest characters in there, but that dude has a lot to deal with.
Yep. And I do generally like that. And it's getting pretty late for me, so we're gonna have to call this as an end. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys have any other questions or things like that, leave it down in the comments. I do read all of your fucking comments. Every last one of them. Anyways, have a good night.
All right.
Take care.
Bye bye.